I
Who are
am.
you?
My name is Joel Eddy, and I'm on do Drive-Thru Review, drivethrvideos.com. You can search YouTube for Drive-Thru Review or Board Game Geek for Ecomouse.
Okay. I usually ask people that because I don't want to mispronounce her name. I mean, yours is pretty common, Joel Eddy, but
Yeah,
uh, like Nasi I had on a couple of months ago, I would have never ever got that right.
he's a tough one. He's a tough one. It's taken me a couple of years to figure his out. I got to hear it like repetitively, Trevicek, Trevicek, but I
Yeah,
finally got it.
I read his book and it came with a little page that you could go to a Dropbox and Eric Sumner actually read out on it how do you pronounce his name. It's the only way I
Yeah,
got it. So
yeah, that was a good book.
yeah, it was. It was. I liked the end too, where all the different designers came by and wrote a little story, about their involvement in the hobby.
hmm
So how did you get into the hobby, Joel?
Well, I think that's a good question. Of course, I played games when I was a kid, played them with my folks. Play a little bit with my friends in the neighborhood. So I wouldn't really call that the hobby though necessarily. Um, but I started playing Catan somewhere around 98 or 99. Some friends had it that played Magic, and I used to go over to their house and we played Magic and just kind of hang out and be friends. And they broke out Catan. They always called it Catan. No, they called it Settlers. They always called it Settlers. That's right. And so we played that, and I was like, oh, that was pretty cool. Blown away. I'm like, hey, it's actually a decent board game. And then didn't think much of it, and then kind of friends of those friends. I was over there like at a party at their house, and he said, hey, we have board game night like once a week, and we play these German board games. And I was like, okay, that sounds kind of exotic and different, German board games, where we downloaded the rules and translated them and stuff. Because this is before they started bringing them over too heavy. And so we played Carcassonne, we played Low and Hers, which is no longer really being printed, but it's now called Domain by Rio Grande Games. And but it's in my opinion they kind of lose a little bit. Anyway, I don't want to sidetrack, but it's basically the same game. But I'd say Low and Hers is a better game. So I played that Carcassonne, Low and Hers, Catan, and card games and stuff like that. Not too much. And then we played El Grande and modern art and stuff, and then really got into it and actually bought my own game because I used to just go play this guy's games and his family's, and bought Kalis when that came out because we were playing Puerto Rico, which I couldn't stand that game, but we'd play like Age of Steam and Power Grid. I enjoyed that. El Grande more. Samurai was a good one. That's a Kinesia Samurai, not the other ones. Um, so then I was researching because we were like heavy playing Puerto Rico, and I'm like, man, I can't stand this game. Everybody else likes this game. So I went research. I think at that time Kalis had like just hit #1 on Board Game Geek, or like it had just hit it and then come back down to #2 underneath Puerto Rico. I says, well, let me look at this one. I'm gonna start at the top and work my way down. I got it, looked into it, and then went and bought it, read the rules. It was kind of my first one, and just kind of get into it. And that was the only one I bought for a while. Like bought that in Carcassonne to play with the family here, but then just kind of slowly from there. And I always played Magic and stuff, poker. Played a lot of poker and Guitar Hero on those game nights too. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm surprised at how many people actually did play Magic. I never did. I got in the hobby real late, like the last 3 years. But
Uh huh.
like I played Monopoly and stuff like that when I was younger.
Sure.
But never any of this other, the designer games or the collectible card games or anything. I'm surprised how many people actually played Magic and Dungeons and Dragons. These seem to be like the two top ones that people
Yeah.
start it with.
Yeah. I played a
Uh,
little bit of D&D in college. This would have been before I played Catan even, and we had a DM and stuff. They kind of looped me into a game in the dorm there, and that was fun for like a semester. We played about once a week, and just sit around, drink beer, and play D&D. And our DM had like a really good really sick and disgusting sense of humor, but a really good sense of humor. And so we had some real crazy campaigns and stuff. That was a lot of fun.
yeah, like I never did any role playing games, but I hear quite a few interesting stories about them. Some of the guys I game with up in PA, they
Hmm.
run one every Sunday, I think he said. So how did drive-through review come about?
Yeah, that's a interesting question. Um, well, mainly I have like a designer streak in me that is not very talented, I guess you could say. Um, kind of more as like investigating as well, because I got kind of more into this, and I kind of credit Ascension. It's a deck building game, and really that one kind of bit me. I played Dominion about the same time as Ascension, so Dominion had already been out, I don't know, what, a year or two, and then I played Ascension and played Dominion, and I was like, oh, this is cool, and so really got sucked big into the hobby right then. That was 2010, and I wanted to sort of explore for myself and like talk about it all the time. And a lot of people didn't really want to hear about it. And I mean, that sounds real negative for some reason, but I just wanted to really kind of explore the hobby more than everybody else around me at that time. And then not shortly after that time, I hadn't quite started recording the videos yet, but I found another game group in Spokane. It's about 20 to 30 minutes away from here. And so I just wanted to figure out the games, kind of thing, like where I, I think it's something people go through. Like when I first played Kalis, like I couldn't tell you nothing about worker placement, and action selection and strategies. Like I couldn't really verbalize it. I just know it was good to like negotiate and screw over Billy because to get the provost to screw him over and make sure I got the gold spot before you, and what I mean. And so I just wanted to sit there and verbalize it. And I used to watch like Tom Vassel's videos and Scott Nicholson videos and all those guys. And yeah, and there was a whole lot of games that like weren't getting videos back then. And that's kind of what I started doing, is going through and saying, okay, here's a kind of an older game or game I played. There's like no videos about it at all. So I said, let me go make a video, because back then it was like, hey, show me how to play the game. You know, that was to me the focus. It was less the review, like, hey, do I think this is good or bad? And it was more like, cool, hey, this is a game. I'm not sure if I want it, but if you show me how to play it, I'll have a better idea if I know if I want to play it. And that's kind of what started. I was like, hey, there's no video for Lonehurst or, I'm having a brain fart. But there's a bunch of other games that I did early on. I was like, oh, no video for this. Let me do a video for that. And that's how that started. And then just kind of became more sort of an addiction.
Yeah, my wife says I'm obsessed. I just say highly interested. As you can see, there's more over here. you know.
There's a fine line.
Yeah. Now, I remember you saying on a podcast or something. Your wife's from South Africa.
Yeah,
Does she game with you? And if not, is
sometimes.
it because of a cultural difference or?
No, I don't think cultural difference. Um, she doesn't game a lot with me. She enjoys Ticket to Ride. She enjoys Paperback, which is a new game, kind of combination of Dominion and Scrabble. She really likes that. What's the other one she liked? She really got into Glen Moore, which was cool, and a couple other ones. Carcassonne, we played that one. We burned the family out on. My youngest son liked that, and my wife liked it. A couple others I'm spacing out on, but yeah, she games here and there. Um, she's not big into it, not for any
Yeah.
particular reason. Just she doesn't have like that gamer gene or something. I don't know what that is, but it's she's sort of plays to play a little bit less. Like she won't be very aggressive. Ticket to Ride should be a little bit aggressive, but it kind of took her a while to get into that. She didn't really want to hurt me or anything. But
Right.
after a while, she started getting. She's like, "No, screw you. I'm taking I'm taking that route. I know you want that route." So, but yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious in the cultural thing. I was talking to we were Ignacy a little bit about
Hmm.
how gaming is different here and then in Poland or Germany or wherever he would
Yeah.
travel there. And I was just wondering if, with your wife, if that was the case.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know that there's a whole lot of gaming over there. I know there's a little bit of a gaming scene because I sort of follow a South African gaming thing on Facebook just out of curiosity more than anything. And I know there's some pockets of gamers there, but it's definitely a luxury hobby. If you really get into, I mean, you can get away with buying like 10, 15 games and being set for a long time if that's your approach. And I think in America that's not the case.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I really don't know I don't go into everybody's homes and investigate, but I think overseas it might be a little bit more of a thing where we buy 4 or 5 games a year and that's it. And that's it. And
Yeah.
that's.
Yeah, that's what Ignacy was saying with Essen. People would go to that fair and they'd buy every game they were going to get for the year there.
Hmm.
Whereas
Yeah,
here, I guess because shipping's so expensive there too. But whereas
yeah,
here, I'd buy like 4 games a month, or
sure.
something like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
I do think people go through phases in a hobby though where I mean, I'm kind of a different animal because I'm doing the whole video thing, but I think like regular people, they go through a phase where they get a lot of stuff. They get a lot of games, a lot of games, a lot of games, and then they start to hopefully get into a groove of games that they play a lot, and they can kind of shed off a little bit of. That's something I've seen over the last several years. Is there's a big acquisition phase because people are kind of learning what they like. I mean, I'm even learning what I like. I kind of started off with the Euro thing, but when I was a kid, like I said, I played D&D and I played Dragonlance and Buck Rogers, which are these old TSR. You call them big box games now, like almost like coffin box games. And I enjoyed the heck out of those when I was a kid, and you kind of forget that, and you kind of grow up a little bit, I guess, but then you kind of get back to it, and you're like, hey, this is fun. I don't have to be a child to enjoy this. This is still, you know, I still enjoy it the same way. So
yeah,
yeah, I think people go through phases and stuff.
yeah, probably. I don't think if I started my channel, I would own as many as I do.
Yeah,
Um, I'm sure you're way more than I am, where you're just bringing them in to review them and then sending them out or whatever. But
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think
There's a little bit of that.
I've noticed a lot of guys with the review channels say that they would buy stuff that they normally wouldn't buy because of the channel. You know. Um,
Yeah, there's some of that.
Now, how many how many reviews did you do? Um, is it like 350 or something like that? I know you number your reviews. I just don't remember.
Oh yeah, that's a good. What am I on now? I don't know. Three something. Let me check. That number's a little bit off because I did some micro reviews and things. Yeah, I'm at 350. Um, and then there's and that and things, and sometimes I review games in there that I don't necessarily do a full review on, but I have like 600 some videos on the channel.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, I know a lot of them from Gen Con and all that. You
yeah,
you were a machine at that. I was surprised it's like 20 videos a day you were pumping out on that. It's Well,
I
speaking
try
of
to be.
yeah, and I thank you for it. I was supposed to go to Gen Con, just something at work happened and I didn't make it.
Yeah,
Now I know you. Part of the reason you kickstarted your channel was to do that Gen Con coverage. What was the
right.
reason for going with Kickstarter as opposed to Patreon or Indiegogo or whatever?
Well, yeah, when I first started the Kickstarter last time, there was no Patreon. Like I didn't know a Patreon. I think it might have just started. And I thought about like a Patreon thing. Um, when I heard more about it, I saw some other folks on it, and I thought, well, that makes more sense for type of serialized sort of weekly content kind of thing happening. It's not like you're getting a product one time. But then it was sort of like, how do you gauge that? Because the first time I went to Kickstarter for Gen Con, it was basically like, I tried not to be so like draconian about it in the Kickstarter, but I was like, okay, if I don't get funded, I'm not going, because it's expensive. I got to fly out there, a hotel, and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, well, if I did a Patreon, I wouldn't really know. It'd just be a little bit more tricky to gauge. So I said, well, let me just stick with the Kickstarter, and that's kind of like we're really funding that event because I can do the videos anyway. I mean, you just doing just it's time. That's it. and my internet connection, which I already pay for because I watch Netflix or you know what I mean. So the original reason there was no Patreon, and the second reason it kind of didn't make sense because what was I going to charge people per month or per video? And then people were like, hey, I've got this monthly bill now. I have to watch this idiot on TV, you know, on YouTube talking about board games. I don't know. But people I know they appreciate the Gen Con, and I think it's sort of like a nice thing. Yeah, well, one time, I can handle that, and they know exactly kind of what they're getting. It's very clear. So
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious. I really didn't even think about Patreon not being out back then. But
yeah.
the Canadians watching Rodney Smith from Watch It Played. He got a question for you here. He
Uh-oh.
says, Joel, have you ever considered walking away from being a reviewer? If so, what changed your mind? If not, can you see a situation where you might?
Walking away from being a reviewer.
Yeah.
Sorry for the dog in the background. No, I haven't really thought too much about it. Well, I have, but not very seriously. Um, that's a good question, Rodney. Damn you. I don't know. Yes, I've thought about it, but I don't know. I think it'll morph. It'll one day morph. If you know me, you don't know me, but I get bored easy, and so that's kind of one of the reasons the video thing started because I like to do things, you know. I don't like to watch things as much, and that's why I like gaming, and that's why I like making videos because I'm doing something. I'm not just watching the news or whatever, and it's kind of creative in a little bit. You know, making videos. It's not as creative as making a game, but it's creative a little bit. And I think it will just morph. If you saw, like, I started doing Twitch. I did one Twitch video so far. I'm definitely going to do more. Um, I mean, maybe I would just do Twitch all the time. I don't think so. I'm still going to review. I like reviewing games. You know, recently I started doing the thing with the pictures instead of, you know, an actual camera and doing the transitions if you've seen some of my more recent videos. So I get bored, you know, and I just want to do something different. So that's what will happen is I'll be bored of doing reviews and, you know, barring any kind of life catastrophe or something. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna hit back on that Kickstarter thing. Being that
Sure.
you were getting money to go to the Gen Con and all that from the Kickstarter, did that make it feel like the channel was a job then, or like you owed something to
Oh,
people?
gotcha. Um, no. Yes and no. I mean, it didn't. So the first question, no, it didn't make it feel like a job. And well, you know what? My wife and I have talked about this, and yes, it's a job, like a second job, right? Like a part-time second job. But that's okay. I mean, it's not like it's kind of like an odd job. Like I could go down the street and uh, mow somebody's lawn or something, and you know, get a couple of bucks, I guess, or fix somebody's car, and then they give me a painting. You know, people don't do that any much anymore, but you know, stuff like that. So it's that kind of job. Um, but what was the other? Oh, what I owe people? Uh, yeah, of course, but I mean, it's not a burden. To me, that always sounds like a burden.
Hmm.
I think, yeah, it's a job. Yes, I owe people, but no, it's not a burden at all. And I don't like. I mean, I've literally not had anybody come to me and say like, "Oh, you know what? You don't do enough videos. You don't do enough this or that." So nobody's ever made it feel like a burden. So I guess I'm lucky.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I was always curious about that. Like if it, to me, it's an extension of the hobby for me, the video channel. But
Hmm.
I was wondering if taking money through Patreon or Kickstarter or whatever
Hmm.
um, took away that, uh, how do I put it?
The joy?
The enjoyment, yeah, I guess. Yeah. All right. Um.
No, it doesn't.
Okay. um. And now, being that you have reviewed so many games, does that change your outlook on the hobby? Like, I know a friend of yours said it made him more of a skeptic towards the hobby,
Hmm.
uh, doing that many videos. Yeah,
Yeah.
does that happen to you, or?
No. Um, that's a tough one. It's weird. Like I've had this discussion with people, and I've seen people say these words, and they say, "I do not trust any." I'm going to paraphrase. I don't trust any of the reviewers because they play way too many games and review too many games. They trust more the one-shot review on Board Game Geek written by somebody that really enjoys the game or really didn't enjoy the game. I mean, granted, it's got to be a well-written review because some people, on Board Game Geek, you kind of get what you get. You get like reviews that are like a little paragraph, just like, hey, I really like the game, blah blah blah, pew pew pew, all that stuff. Um, but then you have some people that put a lot of thought of it, and so you get some really excellent reviews, and you can tell folks that they're not necessarily pro at it on Board Game Geek, but they like you said, they kind of have a hobby of writing reviews, and so I think there's a point there. I also think though it's nice to have somebody that's like take a Tom Vassell or somebody, or who else I think is like a real pro level reviewer would probably be Shut Up and Sit Down, the guys from over in England. Because they haven't been doing the board game thing for a while, but you can tell they've been doing the video game thing for a while, and they have a craft to how they put words together and how they sort of analyze and break things apart. So I think it's good to have both because um, there's a certain jadedness, and jadedness again has got a negative connotation with like maybe what Tom or myself or even like the Shut Up and Sit Down guys do, where they're kind of really looking for that brand new thing and and this thing that really hits them over the head instead of being able to relax a little bit, enjoy a game for what it is. Um, I do see that a little bit, but I just kind of tend to go with it, and I'm lucky I think because I get to play with my family and my gamer friends. So some of the games and I play a lot at lunch at work, and they're like the folks at work are kind of gamers, but they're not like if I wasn't there, they wouldn't really be playing these games. But they got they play video games a little bit or whatever. So I think it's just you just have to be aware of that in yourself. Like if you feel like you got to start getting a hard heart towards it, you're like, oh, I've seen this before. This is one in a million. But that's also part of the deal. It's like, hey, Race for the Galaxy versus San Juan, they're kind of the same. So is that a big deal? No. Yes. No. I don't know. How do you feel about it? That's for you to figure out. Some people want both in their collection. Some people only want one of those in their collection, even though they're kind of the same game. So I think that's up to the reviewer to figure out if they're okay saying like the second one to come out of the previous one is still as good. Like you had Kalis for the first worker placement, and you had Agricola, then you had Caverna, which is pretty much Agricola, but so do you go in with the attitude of, well, you just redid Agricola, so this sucks, or maybe he improved Agricola or whatever. So it's just up to the reviewer to figure out all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah, it was just like I said, I like I said to you before on a Twitter or something. I can never review a game. I couldn't put that much thought into it. It's.
Yeah.
I probably couldn't express my thought process that well either. But um, I admire you guys for how much you do think about the game internally for not only other people, but to differentiate this game versus that game and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky. It's. I think it takes practice, and you're going to miss too. That's one thing I realize is, um, well, yeah. I'll just say there's a big name reviewer. People get on him a lot for when he misses or when they think he misses. And well, if you do so many reviews, you're just going to miss, and you're going to miss people, and you're going to be right from one side and wrong from the other. And that's the one thing is just you got to not worry too much about. Is like you're going to miss, once in a while, and I don't know.
yeah. Now, what about you personally? Playing all these games so much, does that detract from your enjoyment in them? Like, just the bulk of games you're playing?
No. There is. It's a good question. I think there's a lot to be said for a lot of these movements recently in the last couple of years where it's like, hey, play 10 games 10 times, 15 games 15 times. I think that's good. I think I think it's okay to be cold to the new, play a game like say 5 times and then move on. There's nothing wrong with that. I think you get your money's worth if you play a game 5 times and move on because you figure it's a four-player game times five, that's 20 plays. Figure a game's $40, and that's 20 plays. It's $2 a pop per play. That's pretty good. That's like a quarter of a movie, if not less, depending on which city you live in. And that's so I think it's all right to play games a lot and play a lot of different games. I think a lot of people. I mean, I have a friend of mine he's not a reviewer at all. He doesn't want to play a game more than twice. And if he's going to play it more than twice, he wants there to be at least a year or two in between plays. He's a very analytical guy. He's more of a Euro gamer, but he will play an Ameritrash style game from time to time. Um, but that's just how he is. That's what he wants to do. He doesn't own a lot of games. He owns quite a few, but he's of the type that wants to just get in and get out, figure out the game, and then he kind of. I think he's able to. He's very truthful with himself in a lot of ways. He's like, you know what? I may not have won this game or whatever. I may not know every last nuance of every last strategy, but I got the general idea, so I can move on.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I don't really have a problem with either style.
Yeah. Well, no, I meant you personally. Like, while you're
Yeah, no,
playing
but
a
that's
game.
not for me.
Yeah.
Good question. Yeah, you're right. I go back and forth. Like we're playing through Imperial Assault right now, and I can't wait to play that thing like 40, 50 times. And there's been games I've played like 100 times over several years. But yeah, I like both. I like to kind of put on an old glove or old shirt and feels comfortable, and I can just play. And it's more about the other players and not just figuring out all the levers to pull in the game.
Yeah, I can see that. We actually just went through that last night with a game. We put it away so long we couldn't remember how to play it. And
Oh yeah.
that's part of what I'm going to try to do this year is play a little more of the older games. Um, now, let's talk about this the direction of the hobby. The like as Asmodee buying up stuff.
Sure.
Um, I don't see anything negative about that. Unless something down the road happens where they gotta split up again. But what are your opinions on this?
I am not educated enough to figure out what the implication is. Um, like you said, it's kind of scary in one end if they're all kind of together. There's a lot of them together, and then Asmodee sort of folds in 5 years. Let's say that they gobble up Days of Wonder, and then Fantasy Flight, and let's pretend they gobble up Z-Man, and then Portal Games and Rio Grande Games, or something, right? And then in 5 years, Asmodee collapses for some reason. Things happen. So then what happens? We lose all those companies. There's a bunch of other people. I don't think that would happen at all. And even if it did, then these companies would kind of spin off and fork and splinter and make their own games, or somebody else would get the rights to Twilight Imperium and redo it, and whatever it is. I don't think it's a big deal. I mean, there's still plenty of competition. It's they bought Days of Wonder and Fantasy Flight, and they bought 3 other companies. There'd still be like 40 companies. Worth a
Yeah.
darn.
Yeah, like I think it's just going to open up distribution for them over here in America and Fantasy Flight and all them over in Europe. I don't see anything negative, but I've heard a lot of other publishers afraid of these
Oh,
mergers.
really?
A couple others, but
Hmm.
it just surprised me in the hobby how the doomsdayers come out on certain things.
It's just the internet.
Yeah, yeah. I'm still getting used to this, but this shit just does amaze me. uh, Now, what about the bulk of games coming out per year? You've been in the hobby a while, and
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people say over the last 5, 6 years, there's just more and more games being thrown into the market every year.
Yeah.
How do you think that's going to affect the hobby?
Um, Again, that's a tough one to answer. It's probably not as good for the hobby as if it wasn't a glut. So I do think there's a glut of games. A, partly due to Kickstarter. B, partly just to do because there's just a glut. And I think it's worse for the hobby than it would be if there wasn't a glut. But I don't think it's like critical. Like it's not going to harm it irreparably. Uh, so that's kind of my take on it.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I was just curious. Like I said, you've been in it a lot longer than I have. I don't.
Yeah, I mean it's
I was
definitely
watching.
ramped up. It's crazy. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was watching that segment Chaz did, Chaz Marler, about the bubble bursting and all that, and I was
Yeah.
thinking, I don't think it would be that bad. I kind of see the hobby like the movie industry. You get the hype for this one movie, and then it either's the spectacular hit or it flops, and then 6 months later you get an expansion or a sequel in the movie's case, and then 5 years down
Mhm.
the road they reprint a game, But
Right.
I I was watching, like I said, that segment on what Chaz did, and I don't think it'll be that bad. I think eventually Kickstarter will level out, and
Yeah.
um, smaller companies will fold and stuff like that. I don't think the consumers can keep up with the amount of games coming out a year. And something
Mhm.
will have to give. You know.
Well, I can't argue too much with that, but it seems like we have an influx of new folks into the hobby, based on the tabletop. I guess is gonna get a lot of credit for it, and you start to see stuff like Cones of Dunshire, whatever the heck that thing is, and the Green Bay Packers are playing Catan, which is I don't know why that's a big deal, but um, you know, so you start to see things like that, and you always get new people in the hobby. The thing is no people don't really leave the hobby too much. They might spend less, you know. Like I don't see myself ever really leaving the hobby.
Hmm.
I might stop buying games or just buying less games, or that could happen, but I don't think it'll go to zero. I don't know. I won't
Yeah.
stop playing games. Maybe when I get really old and cranky, I'll start buying more war games or something. Play solitaire. But yeah,
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. Yeah, I don't like. If I never bought a game again, I'd be set for life. I mean, there's 300 pack here, roughly, just
hmm
under. And eventually, I'm going to start getting some out and bringing new ones in. But yeah, like I said, if I ever stop buying games today, I'd be set. It's just I was saying like there's so many games being pushed out a year that the consumers can't keep up with. They're like I feel a lot of games are just getting overlooked. Decent games
yeah,
because of the mass flow of games going out every year. Um, it's a shame. But like Heroes of Normandy, I finally got that. I think it's a good game. It's got issues, but you don't hear anything
yeah,
about it anymore. When it first came out, you heard a little bit, and then it died away.
right.
Yeah, stuff like that. Um,
Yeah, no, I think you're right about that. I mean, you're right. There's so many games. A lot of these, um, decent games get overlooked, and it's kind of how it is. I mean, it's kind of like the game design craft is so well refined nowadays. We kind of have stood on the shoulders of the I don't know if you call them giants, but just going back to the 90s into the mid 2000s, and there's a lot of techniques that have been developed that you can reuse and ideas in terms of the graphical design and everything. And so everybody's got the hang of that, and it's kind of at the point where, oh yeah, that was good, that was fun. What's next? You know, I don't really have a feeling one way or the other about it, but um,
Yeah.
mm,
Well, you're speaking about war games. Do you? I don't have too many. I've seen a couple, and I watch guys do it on the TV, on the
mhm.
YouTube. But do you think the aesthetics of the war games is a reason new people aren't getting into it? Like nowadays everything's got to have miniatures or high quality cardboard or stuff like that. Do you
Yeah.
think that's holding back the wargaming end of it?
No, I think, well, maybe a little, but I think the length and the subject matter, it's not for everybody. Not that many people I know want to play a game about World War II, really. And I think the aesthetic makes sense because it needs to be. There's a lot of information a lot of times, and you need to have it very crisp and clear. So having little cool, little squiggly, cartoony graphics isn't always the greatest idea. Um, I don't think wargaming is designed to have a mass market penetration. I don't think you'll see, Will Wheaton on tabletop playing No Retreat or Fire in the Lake or something. But I don't think it's meant for that. I think it's more, you watch like the History Channel. History Channel's got enough uh, popularity, but it's not really something that a lot of people like to watch too much, especially recently since they stopped covering history.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, that's just how it goes. I don't think War Game's going to be. It's not going to be a hit War Game usually. That's okay though. I don't think that's not the goal.
Yeah, yeah. I was just curious. Like, that's another thing I'm going to try and do this year is getting a little heavier war games. I have a
Hmm.
couple entry levels, but I
Oh
want to
yeah.
get a couple heavier ones.
What have you played?
1775, real entry level one.
That's a good one.
Here's a Normandy memoir.
Hmm.
I just picked up Band of Brothers,
Good.
Ghost Panzer. Uh,
That's a good
I'm
one.
gonna try that one out. I looked for the original one, but it's out of print. Couldn't find it reasonably.
Yeah,
The
you want to
original
wait
one.
on that one anyway because they redid the rules and there's some new counters that have supposed to have been out for like 2 years to kind of match the new rules from the old set with the new Ghost Panzer rules. So anyway, so you're all
Okay.
right waiting for that.
Okay. And I've been thinking about one of them coin series ones,
I
Fire in the
love it.
Lake or one of them.
Yeah.
Um, but a couple of them have been out of print for a little bit too. But I'm
Hmm.
trying to see. My wife Jen's my main gaming partner. I'm trying to see
Hmm.
how some of these go with her before I get too deep into it,
Yeah.
or I'll be playing solo.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but it actually surprised me. She likes Memoir 44 a lot. I was surprised. Most of the women I interacted with here don't like the direct conflict games, but Jen doesn't mind that.
Okay.
Surprised me. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Um, but coming being a board gamer going into that, the aesthetics of it kind of shocked me. How bare bones they are, and I
Right.
understand the information aspect of it you were talking about, but
Hmm.
like Heroes of Normandy, I think is presented pretty well, even with the counters with the information on it on both sides, But uh,
Definitely.
some of the other ones I've seen, they're like kind of aesthetically unappealing.
Yeah. They're definitely getting better at that. Recent years. They just I think they're kind of borrowing a little bit of the sensibilities, at least from some of the Euro games, and trying to sort of streamline and better abstract some things that don't necessarily need to be uh, so fiddly in terms of rules. And so, yeah, I just think that they're, both kind of schools are informing each other in some ways.
Okay. Yeah, could be. Um, yeah, but like I said, that's what I want to try to do. I actually put off with the Band of Brothers thing because it's kind of a personal thing. I knew a couple of guys in the Easy Company.
Hmm.
They recently just passed away. Babe Heffron and Wild Bill there. Last year they passed away, so it's kind of a little personal there.
Yeah, I
They were good
understand
guys, and they were good guys, but that whole generation's dying off, unfortunately.
that. Yep. Hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting piece there, about you think of the reality of what you're doing and what you're studying.
Yeah, yeah. And them guys usually don't talk about it. Just
Sure.
towards the end of Babe's life, he started to. When the TV series and all that came out, he finally did.
Hmm.
But I was talking to his daughter, and she knew nothing about it until that book series came out. Until the guy started interviewing him for it.
Hmm.
Uh, um, but well, enough about that. It's a little dark. um, what was I gonna say? I forget now. All right. Do you I know you said you get bored with the filming and all that. I know for a while you're going black and white, and then you went all color, and then you went back to black and white. Um, what's next on what's up and coming with the channel?
Nothing more Twitch stuff. I'm gonna kind of refine that. I just did a Twitch of Pandemic to Cure, and then that's carried over to the YouTube channel. So, and more of that. I'm gonna do a little bit better job with that. I was kind of winging it. It took an hour for one game of Pandemic to Cure is way too long
Hmm.
because I can literally play a game in 15 minutes if I'm not bothered with telling people what I'm doing in my head. um,
It's tough, isn't
so
it?
yeah, yeah, and I'll get better at that and make it quicker and more interactive and just kind of see how that goes and get the camera working a little bit better and stuff like that. So that's kind of my main focus. And I'm gonna do a top 100 videos of all time. Probably put that out around summer.
Okay.
Once I kind of get situated, so to speak.
That's cool. Um, I was actually towards the end of the 10 worst games of 2014 or whatever. You said you were going to
Hmm.
stop doing them.
Hmm.
Um, I don't
I
blame you.
said I was thinking about it.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're thinking about.
Yeah.
I don't blame you. I see that on the internet a lot. People saying that people who do film the stuff are always giving a good opinion on the games, but I don't think people realize the amount of time and effort that goes into it. And I don't think most people who do video these things would waste that amount of time and effort on a game they don't like. you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Yes, that's the job part, right? That's the part I never feel, or that kind of bothers me sometimes. Um, like here, I got 3 games down, right? Yeah, 3 games down that I played and didn't like at all. And frankly, I try to hold back a little bit when I talk about them, but like I feel like, man, that was a complete waste of my time. And I feel especially bad about playing those with people. Like with my friends or my family. I'm like, man, I'm really sorry that was horrible. Um, and so I tell you that kind of burns me after a while, and if it irritates me enough, or then I'll just put that out, and I just bottle up and hide all that anger I have with that lost time. So it's not that big a deal. That kind of thing at the end of that video was a little bit of amusing because it just that thought kind of occurred to me as I was recording right at that instant, and I said, well, I'll just go run with this because it just wanted to get off my chest, kind of thing. Um, but uh, but yeah, I don't understand why you would. If it was a job, if it really was, you were talking like a real job for me, then I'd sit down, I'd say, here's how you play Zaya, and here's how you play Five Tribes or whatever other game I didn't really like that much. And boy, it was a big stinker for me, because of this, and that. And you know, if I considered myself a professional video board game journalist as my career, but I'm just an amateur blogger, on YouTube, um, and that's it. And I just don't have the time. If I had the time, I'd more than happily do that. Probably, I don't know what I would do, but I don't think there's anything wrong with negative reviews. It's just if you're in my situation, it's sort of paradoxical, right? It's kind of like, well, you go on Kickstarter, you get some money for that, and so it's kind of a job, and then you kind of do this other thing, and it's like, well, no, it's not a job. I'm just doing this for fun, but it's it's kind of a transaction by transaction basis with me. You know, it's like if you want my opinion on something, I'm happy to give it. If somebody asks me an opinion, you know, they're like, "Hey, I saw you liked Istanbul, but hey, did you like Five Tribes?" And on Board Game Geek, and I'll just say no, and this is why. You know, so I don't. I'm always like an open book in that way. So I think it's okay if people really want to know what I think, then that's okay. And but you know, people, as like I was saying before, people kind of evolve and go through the hobby and they go through phases. I think people kind of figure out what they like after a while. It's tough when people are getting new into the hobby. Even as a reviewer, people are like, "Hey, you said you liked that game, and the last 5 games I watched that you reviewed, I liked too." Then I hit that sixth one. It's like, "Man, I didn't like that at all." Or you hated that game, and I love that game. And it's like, well, we're different people. You know, you play with different people than me, so
Yeah.
you kind of evolve. People, the viewers evolve, I evolve, everybody evolves to the point where they know what they're going to like usually, and then you get surprised. You know, one night Werewolf comes out, and I'm like, wow, I never thought I'd like a game this much. That's like this. You know, uh, so it's a big process. That's all it is.
Yeah, I can see that. Even I named the channel Gateway Gamer, and
Hmm.
it's been a year, you know, 2 years since I played a Gateway game. Yeah,
Hmm.
probably. I should have thought about that a little more, but I
That's all
see
right.
the
You know, it's a part of the process, right? I mean, that's how you
yeah
started, and then now you got a reflection on well, how you named the channel when you first started. So.
yeah yeah. But even in that short time since I've been in the hobby, I've seen my taste vary quite a bit, and from year to year, basically. You know, like one
Hmm.
year it was all or Ameritrash. One year it's all Euros, heavier Euros, you know, stuff like that. Now it's kind of a mix of both. But
Hmm.
I was surprised at how much my tastes have changed in the 3 years that I've been into this, 3 or 4 years, whatever it's been.
Yeah.
Yeah. But luckily, there's a game that'll scratch any itch I have out there. You just
Just
gotta find
about.
it. You know.
That,
Yeah.
that's for sure.
Now, what about these more sensitive themed games coming out lately, like the Underground Railroads one I can think of right away, Lap Dance.
Hmm.
You know,
Sure.
um, I think it's a good thing for the hobby. You know, but
Right.
where does it where's the line drawn between a difficult theme and bad taste?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's an individual thing. Um, you know, I mean, there was games, really, really racist games made back in the 30s. You know, directed at black folks, and you know, we haven't seen anything like that nowadays, and that's despicable and all that stuff. But so there's that to me, which is you know, I'm not a big gray area guy, but to me that's obviously bad. And and then you got stuff like lap dance, and that is I don't really have a problem with that theme wise. I didn't really like the game. I won't have it in my house. You know, I have a child, 13-year-old. Not necessarily stuff he doesn't know about, but stuff I don't think is it's just I have no business having it in the house. That's all. That's just my personal choice. Um, But in a setting with other adults and playing it, having a good time and laughing, and to me, it doesn't derogatorily depict any one gender or style of whatever. It's kind of equal opportunity, just hilarity, and late night HBO, whatever type of comedy. I don't know what you call it, but it's silly, and that's all it is. But if you had a game that kind of pushed the envelope in a little bit darker side of that world, I don't know if that would be such a great idea, but I don't preclude people from trying it. To me, the whole thing comes down to like a certain amount of negligence or care that you don't put into a thing. So if you kind of just are haphazard or cavalier about it, I think that'll come across. And I think people's intentions will come across through the game. Like freedom, very much is the intention of that is well-meaning. It's trying to educate. It's trying to get you to empathize. It's trying to get you to sort of think about and experience and put you in the decision-making role. and that comes through because the game did such a good job. And Lap Dance, even though I don't like the game, it comes across as silly and funny and interesting, weird combinations and stuff like that. And that comes across. They took care at least on that side with the theme, and so that's why I don't have a problem with it. Now, if somebody comes along and they're just really cavalier with the theme and don't really care, slap the theme on and get out the door, then that's going to come across to me, and it's going to be personal for everybody. But like Five Tribes, the other example with the slavery in Five Tribes, well, that's to me okay because it's derived from the Tales of the Arabian Nights, which is fictional, and they had slavery in there, and it wasn't a certain type of people that was enslaved, and it wasn't. At least I don't think. I haven't read a Tales of the Arabian Nights since high school or whatever, so I don't know that it was a metaphor for a certain race or anything or a certain group. But that's what existed, and And a lot of people have problems with even the depiction of slavery whatsoever. I don't know. That's gonna be personal, but I think it's okay at the end of the day. My main point is I think people should go after those themes and people should investigate those themes but take care and put a good faith effort into it and put your best foot forward, and I think it'll turn out okay at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah. Now, is this something new where people are pushing the envelope, as you say, with the themes? Is this something newer, or has this been going on throughout the hobby? Since you've been in the hobby?
Well, that's a good question. We had a game. What was it called? Endeavor. I've never played it, but it had slavery in it, and it had another game called Struggle of Empires had slavery, and it kind of hurt you if you took on slaves to help your economy and colonizing the new world and stuff. So that's not entirely new, at least that concept. But we have war games. We've had before Fire in the Lake. We had a couple of Vietnam War games, and that's at least in the United States is a controversial topic. I think you want to be careful with, but I think in general, I mean, we got stupid things like Redneckopoly or whatever. I don't know what that is, but it's here and there. But I think it's a family hobby in a lot of ways. It's a social hobby, so you don't want to. You're kind of trying to get away from sort of the heavy and the, kind of the real serious and curmudgeonly aspects of life when you play a game. I mean, you sit down and you want it to be silly. You think of like playing Pictionary with people or charades, and then there's the one guy in there that's trying to bring in politics into the situation or whatever, kind of bringing the mood down. So you got to be real careful about that. But yeah, I don't think there's been too much of it.
Oh, yeah, I can see your point with the mood. I liked Freedom the Underground Railroad, but I traded away just because of the mood it's set for. Usually you're joking around with that type of game. I didn't feel it was respectful to do that with. So I kind of got rid of it.
Which one?
The Underground Railroad, Freedom.
Oh, you got rid of it. Okay.
Yeah, I did enjoy it, but it set.
Oh, I say you say you got rid of it because of the mood at game night kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tricky thing. Yeah, I mean you can't joke around. I mean, you can, but it's hard to joke around. You don't really want to joke around and laugh and talk smack while you're playing a game about that subject because it just seems disrespectful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get it.
Yeah, that's why. Like I said, that's why we got rid of it. No, I don't want to keep you going. I know you got to make dinner and all that. You're 3 hours behind me. So I've been stealing this thing off your buddy Lance there lately, where I'll ask 3 questions.
Okay.
The first one is, what game do you love but everybody else seems to hate?
Okay. Several. I wouldn't say everybody seems to hate. Let me take a quick peek here. God, is there something that I like that everybody hates? I don't think so. I mean, Kalis I really enjoy, and a lot of people seem to think that's dry as dirt. I don't think so. I don't agree with that, but there's a lot of people out there that love Kalis too. Urban Sprawl is another one I really like. A lot of people hated that. Thought it was too random. Shadows of Brimstone is one I haven't reviewed. I'm going to try to review this week or next week or something. A lot of people seem to not like that. A lot of people seem to like that one. Yeah, I mean it's kind of six one half dozen on that.
Hmm.
I don't see anything that you know lots of people hate up here. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. It's kind of the reverse. What's a game you hate and everybody else seems to love?
Probably the same kind of answer. Let's see. Well, I don't really like Zaya. A lot of people seem to really like Zaya. There's a few people that also don't like it. A lot of people don't seem to really, 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 really like Five Tribes, and I don't really like it. I wouldn't say I hate it. Like I'd play it if we went to game night and we're like, "Oh, we got his Five Tribes." I'd be like, "All right, let's play."
Hmm.
But, but yeah. So I mean, Quarters. A lot of people hated Quarters, so I wasn't the only one. Yeah, there's a few.
All right, the final one is what conspiracy theory do you buy into?
Conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I'm expecting something
Let's
with a
see when you.
Sasquatch.
What's that? Sasquatch?
I'm expecting
Jeez.
something with a Sasquatch.
No, no. Well, see, when you call it a conspiracy theory, that right away tells me it's wrong. So, I don't buy into a lot of conspiracy theories. Um, I'm trying not to get myself in trouble here. See, I live in North Idaho. Okay, so
Hmm.
there's enough people around here that believe in just about every conspiracy theory. I see them and talk to them on an almost daily basis. So I personally, it's kind of like a pet peeve of mine. Conspiracy theories in general. Um, but I also try not to be one of those that kind of toes the line and just believes everything they hear on the news either. So um, to me, it's most important that people investigate and make it a point to get out of their circle of like websites or people that they listen to and go directly to the other side. Go to the opposite side. Find somebody smart on the other side of an issue and listen to them, investigate them, and then you don't get into the downward spiral. I mean, I post videos on YouTube, and not that many years ago, you'd sit there and you'd click on one thing, and then YouTube suggests another video, and you click that. You get bored at night or whatever on YouTube, and then all of a sudden you're into like 9/11 conspiracy theories and aliens and stuff like that, and it's like, oh my gosh, this world is messed up and awful and depressing, and um, so I try to stay out of that. Make it a point, and and I see a lot of people around here that's like, oh, there's FEMA camps set up for when Obama runs for his third term and declares himself king and joins with the UN and the new pope, and I mean, it's like, come on, let's. But again, I live in North Idaho, so I'm like literally surrounded by people. Uh, I guess that would be my conspiracy theories. I think there's a conspiracy of numbskulls around here. So, but anyway,
Fair enough.
none of them.
Okay. And like I said, I don't want to keep it too long. I
That's fine.
usually close this with what would you suggest to somebody just getting into the hobby? And I guess this could go both ways with not only the hobby itself, but reviewing games.
Hmm. Well, I mean, you mean in terms of the hobby, you mean like which games to get?
Nah, just like any advice you have on somebody just getting into it, just starting, like
Hmm.
what not to do, or something like that.
Okay, that's a good question. I think my advice would be to somebody just getting into the gaming side of it would be to try the different genres. Like if you come into it playing Euros, try an Ameritrash game. If you come into it playing Ameritrash games, try a Euro. But look for one that looks like it's got interesting subject matter. Like say you're a Star Wars fan and you're into Euros, try Imperial Assault or X-Wing. Or if you're into Ameritrash and you look at the different games, pick a theme out of the Euros that looks interesting, or study up the mechanics, watch some videos on how to play the thing, and try to jump around. Try the social style games, like you got your Spyfall coming out, you got your One Night Werewolf, and different stuff like that. Then try that because you're going to find stuff that you're gonna like. He didn't think you're gonna like it, but so I'd say do that. Uh, and then the second part you asked was
The
you asked
reviewer end.
oh, sorry, reviewing side. Um, hmm. Well, I just say do whatever you want. Just try to, if you feel like you have something to say, you feel like there's a niche not being served. If you feel like, then do that. Go for that. Like set a goal. Set goals for yourself. Like say, okay, in 6 months, I want to have made 5 videos or whatever, or 10 videos, and you can set goals for yourself. I want to have 1,000 subscribers to my YouTube channel in 6 months. But I would say don't get hung up on that kind of stuff too much. It's more like playing golf. I had a discussion with some of these video reviewer friends of mine, and we were talking about competing with each other, which you kind of do and you kind of don't. I mean, you kind of see like, oh, I made a video of Roll for the Galaxy, and I only got 2,000 views, and this other person got 10,000 views, and it's like, okay, that's fine, whatever. But it's like when you first start, you only get 100 views, whatever it is for your videos. The next video you get 150 views, and the next one you get 300 views or whatever. And so play golf more than play competitive sports. Just set goals for yourself in that way, and then set goals for yourself and just trying new things, I guess, like just say, this time I'm going to set the camera up over here and see how that works or whatever. Or this time I'm going to shoot in black and white, and this time I'm going to apply this filter, or this time my wife's going to come on or whatever. Just have fun with it.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have a couple minutes? I want to talk to you a little bit off when we go shut down.
No, yeah, I got a good 15 minutes or so here.
Okay. All right. So for those of you who for some reason don't know you, how would they view your stuff?
Yeah, I'll go to drivethruvvideos.com. That's a good spot to start. You can search for Drive-Thru Review on YouTube or Eekamouse, EEKAMOUSE on BoardGameGeek, and then for some reason my Twitter handle is E3KMouse because somebody stole Eekamouse, and I was too stupid to make a Drive-Thru Review Twitter because I was just using it for fun. And I was like, oh, look at all these people following me now. I have to change this stupid thing. Anyway, so yeah, that's how you can find me.
Okay. Well, thanks for watching, everybody who did watch. And good night. I never know how to end these things.
But no, that's good.
All right, so I'm gonna shut down.
All right.